Welcome to Collections of Cinema.
Hello, people of Earth, Mars, Moon, and the universe. Moon. The moon. You know the big white thing on the sky at night. The moon. The bloody moon. We put a laser on the moon.
What is that accent?
I don't know. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to a new episode of our podcast called Collections of Cinema. Cinema. A collection of cinema. With me, Sir Wolfgang, and with the lovely wife,
You're mixing very, like, a lot of accents right now.
Actually, I'm talking French with a French accent.
And doing the Italian. I'm talking French.
Because we are talking about the French movie today.
For those of you who don't know us personally, my dear husband is a
lunatic
master, she said lovingly, with accents.
I mean, everybody who knows me knows that I can dive into any persona quickly.
And I think my favorite is either you're Southern or you're British, but the British is one of my favorites because you always get like 3 decibels louder than you need to be.
That's what people... Yeah, that's
funny.
I'm hard with accents, actually.
You're hard with accents.
I'm getting hard with accents. I have a hard time with accents.
Yeah.
But I think my Southern one is actually good. It's good. It's not bad.
Yeah.
Wait.
Do it.
No, I'm not doing it now. I don't want to offend anybody.
No, it's not bad.
When I talk to your mom in a Southern accent, she likes it. She thinks it's funny.
Of course she likes it. Because it's funny.
So
it's not bad.
Let's go into the movie. We're talking, I mean, as everybody knows who watches the podcast or listens to the podcast, we are talking about Valerion, the City of a Thousand Planets today because we chose, or you, the listener, chose the movie last night.
We watched it last night.
Right.
I'll just read the short synopsis.
Yeah, do it.
A dark force threatens Alpha, a vast metropolis and home to species from 1,000 planets. Special operatives Valerian and Laurelin must race to identify the marauding menace and safeguard not just Alpha, but the future of the universe.
Yeah.
Yes.
A few side notes to the whole movie. First of all, It's a French movie. It's considered the biggest European film production ever, and therefore also the biggest, most expensive independent film.
That's really shocking to me, though. Like, how are there just not that many movies?
There are, but we usually in Europe we don't make movies that go beyond 100 million.
Okay.
Because the funding in Europe is not that massive.
Mm-hmm.
And usually if you look at the cinema in Europe, especially like France, Spain, Italy, it's more toned down drama and not that much action.
But it's interesting to me that...
Comedy a lot.
That, one of the biggest film festivals maybe in the world is in Europe.
That's prestige.
Yeah.
That's all prestige. Cannes and then Venice Film Festival. That's just prestige. But yeah, those are two things. So the movie costed. Let me pull up the numbers here. The budget was around 200 million euros, which is $209 million. And it had at the box office was at 226 million, so it basically broke even barely. Was still considered to be a flop.
It really didn't do well.
No, it didn't do well. It received mixed reviews from critics, even though the visuals were praised and the fans, like the public, really liked the movie. The public had a positive image of the movie. So Luc Bessons, I don't want to go much into his character. He's the director of the movie, and he had some legal sexual allegations on him, which all got resolved.
Mm-hmm.
Which doesn't mean that he didn't do them, but at least some things got resolved.
Resolved or
In front of court, yeah.
No, but like, was he acquitted or did he?
No, he was acquitted.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like resolved, like he paid off people. Okay.
No. It was like there was no.
There was no case.
There was not able to be like any evidence that anything happened at any place or time.
Okay.
Which again still doesn't say anything.
Unfortunately.
The thing is, I like his movies. He did Leon the Professional, or just the Professional.
That's a great movie.
He did The Fifth Element. We're going to go into that one a little bit because it's very similar to Valerian. He produced the Transformers, the Transporter movies. He did a lot of like Taken. He produced Taken, his studio.
Yeah, I thought so. I mean, that's just a little segue. There was a line in this movie in Valerian where
reference Taken,
and it was like almost 1-to-1 where one character said like, "I will find you and I will kill you," and then you hear somebody off to the side whisper, "Good luck," and I was like,
Yeah. So, but it's based on a comic book. I didn't say that yet. It's based on a comic book series written in France and published in the 60s, and I think up until now even. And it's very popular, the comic book. I think I even had it as a child. At some point I had a comic book of that series.
Okay.
And I really liked it, I remember. And I have to say the whole universe and the setting and everything works for me. It's a very cool looking, very artsy, colorful, Star Wars-esque a little bit.
But that's actually the issue I had with it.
That's what you said yesterday. Yeah?
Because, I mean, I get we talked about that too, a lot of sci-fi movies
take from that,
take as much as they can from Star Wars because it's Star Wars.
Yep.
It's a classic. It's amazing. But sometimes I feel there are movies that try a little too hard to feel like Star Wars, and this felt like that again, to me. Like it felt very much like that world, and so for me it was hard to watch because it kind of felt like a I don't know, like a B version of Star Wars in a way. That I don't mean that to be like harsh, but that's what it felt like watching it.
The series is considered a landmark in Europe, comics and pop culture, and influenced other media as well. Traces of concepts, storylines, and designs can be found in science fiction films such as Star Wars and The Fifth Element. So Star Wars took a lot of that series of those ideas, at least conceptually, and designed and put it into their own. So,
but like even one of the evil guys looks a little bit like Jabba the Hutt, the guy that John Goodman does the voice of. Like as soon as I saw him, like he's kind of like a Jabba character. And,
But still, I think it works overall, and it's a different approach because it's still, you can see like it starts in our time and then it progresses through over 100 years. And it's basically about the space station who grows and grows and grows into this massive city called the City of Thousand Planets. And it's a cool concept of all those different species, aliens coming together in this one big hub, essentially. And Valerian and his sidekick, Lorlin, they basically then uncover a conspiracy, so to say. Come on, the cast is phenomenal. We have Ethan Hawke in a small role. We have Rihanna in a small role, which I really like her character in the movie. Clive Owen is, we spoil things, so spoiler alert, he's the evil guy. And he just works super well, I think. And the only issue I think I have a little bit is the main two characters. Dane DeHaan is I don't want to say anything wrong. He's an American actor, but he has descent from, I don't know, somewhere. His name is, I don't remember. I read it sometime. But he I think the biggest role he had was in The Amazing Spider-Man 2. He was Harry Osborn. or the Green Goblin. And Cure for Wellness, maybe. And he was in Oppenheimer.
He was Cure for Wellness. Okay.
Yeah. He's a cool character. I really like him. And of course, I mean, Cara Delevingne.
I don't know.
I don't even know how to spell her name. I'm sorry.
Say her name.
Say her name, yeah. Suicide Squad. I mean, that's like the bigger movie she has done in the last couple of years. Paper Towns is a really good one. I think she's a really cool actress. But they don't work well together. Like I
agree.
I like them individual. Like they play their characters really well. Like he plays this cocky, cool guy who has all like luck all the time, but still is kind of lovable. And then she plays this really badass, cool chick who you know who doesn't take shit basically. Yeah. But both of them together, they don't really work.
Have chemistry.
No, they don't have chemistry, and there's nothing against them as actors. But I think I don't know, maybe it's just them being like their physical appearances together.
I don't know.
Or maybe, but I have to say, I like that he's not this massive built-up jockey guy.
I agree.
He's a scrawny, my figure, technically.
But again, it's a good kind of like reference to Star Wars too, if you think about it, because Luke Skywalker is also a scrawny, lanky guy. Yeah. No, I agree. They don't have great chemistry, well together, no. And so in the end, when he asks him, spoiler, when he asks her to marry him, it's also like, and then they like basically have this very, very kind of intense makeout scene. Yeah. It's kind of hard to watch because it's not somehow believable, because it also was kind of weird to me that he proposed at the end, because I felt like they weren't like a couple throughout the entire movie.
I mean, they kissed multiple times.
But it still didn't feel like they were a couple. It was just weird. It was a very strange.
It's weird. Yeah. It's weird. In general, it's probably, if you are familiar with Luc Bessons' movie catalog and his work in general, then
I'm making so many noises tonight. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, please just stop moving. I'm firmly excuse my wife because she obviously can't hold still for a while.
No, I can't. I really can't hold still.
Yeah. So, if you are familiar with his work, then you probably know a lot of his movies. Just to name a few, we already said.
You made a list of his movies already.
Yeah, I just wanted to say more, but okay, then I won't.
I mean, you can, but
no, it's fine. It's funny because that's not even his whole list of movies that I just pulled up, but I'm just going on IMDb quick because the movie that stands out more comparably to Valerian is The Fifth Element. We already quickly talked about, and it's essentially also a very cool space sci-fi movie that was released in 1997, and maybe we do it at some point because we have it on Blu-ray. So maybe, The Fifth Element. So and it's a very cool movie with Bruce Willis, Mila Jovovich, and Gary Oldman in the evil guy's role, and considered a sci-fi classic. It's actually a really good movie, and it kind of fits interestingly very well into the world of Valerian, because it's somewhere far away like Star Wars, but it's also on a part on Earth, I think. But I don't know what it is about The Fifth Element that works better than Valerian, but The Fifth Element does work way better. But maybe it's also just the quirkiness of all of it, because it's so weird. It almost feels like a Terry Gilliam movie where all the costumes are super like awkwardly weird, but kind of futuristic. But then also the story is really good.
You don't think this one was weird and quirky?
No. I mean, parts of it.
I think so.
Let's talk about two scenes that I really liked. The first bigger scene or set piece was the city that you can't really see in the desert.
That's cool, yeah.
it's such a cool concept where you have to, like, all those tourists come there and they get those basically AR goggles, AR glasses, and you put them on, and then all of a sudden you see this massive city in the middle of nowhere, and you can go in there and buy things, and you can go down and this, multiple levels.
Yeah.
And so basically they have to extract something in there, and they go in there, and he has those AR goggles on, but she doesn't, for example, and then you see the different perspectives, and it's really cool.
Yeah.
And it works so well, and the CG shines in there. Like this,
That's
the
true.
visual effects are so fucking good in that movie.
Yeah.
They are not like photorealistic in the sense that they look super realistic, but they work so well in the style of the movie.
Yeah.
And it's super surprising for a movie that was made in Europe, and also a testament to how many good people we have here in that industry. Yeah. So if you have not seen it, and if you like cool sci-fi world building and just good VFX effects, then watch it for sure. And the second scene or set piece is the scene where he basically runs through the main station, the city of 1,000 planets. Is it planet? I think so.
Yeah, it's planets.
And he just runs through it with the suit, kinda, and it's so cool because it again showcases the insane CG. It basically runs through room to room, and then all of a sudden he's outside, and he makes those little steps with this gun he has, and then he goes into this tunnel with like weird eggs and all this, and there's so much to look at and so much to see, and it's really cool. It's really fucking cool. And overall, I mean, the story, it's not something magnificent, Oscar worthy, but it still works. It's a nice story about this.
I mean, if you're really into sci-fi, you probably would like this movie.
It's a nice story. It's a nice allegory. It's basically essentially about this indigenous species that they got the planet got destroyed, and they had to flee, and they tried to rebuild essentially, but they made to be seem like evil people or the evil guys, even though that's not true. And it's a nice little story. Yeah.
No, I agree. I like the story of it. I like the kind of like message underneath the whole thing.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm picky with sci-fi. So some sci-fi I really like, and some sci-fi I'm like, I can't stand it. And this is kind of like borderline. Like I felt kind of bored watching it.
I mean, there's a lot of world building, and that alone is like
it's weird. Okay, this is what's weird, because I love Doctor Who. And I feel like this is a kind of similar world to Doctor Who, because some of the characters, like some of the creatures and the aliens, are very Doctor Who-esque.
I mean, Doctor Who started in the 60s, right? So it kind of made sense that correlated a little bit, maybe. And
but I really like Doctor Who, but I don't know, for some reason, even though this feels like we're in the sense of like the world that they're in, it feels similar. I have a hard time with this one. I don't know. I don't dislike it, but it's not like a movie I'd be like, hey, let's watch Valerian, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I'll just watch Star Wars instead.
That's true. I like it. That's why I have it. It's not a massively great movie, but still it's enjoyable, and I think it's also good. It's a fun kids movie as well. It's like it's not.
It definitely
brutal.
feels more like targeted towards a younger audience.
Yeah, it's not brutal. It's a fun watch. It has a nice message. Yeah. Let's go over to movie of the week.
Movie of the week.
Okay, we watched a couple of movies. I watched more movies than you did, actually. But we had some fun movies, actually. We had Cuckoo. We had Me, Earl, and the Dying Girl. We had I watched Doctor Sleep. And we had Blink Twice.
Okay, for me, it's between Doctor Sleep and Me, Earl, and the Dying Girl. But I think I would go with Me, Earl, and the Dying Girl.
Yeah, I would go I would take that as well. Even though the Doctor Sleep, we watched the director's cut.
Doctor Sleep is a great thriller.
It's fucking
horror
phenomenal.
thriller. It's
like
wonderful.
Mike Flanagan directed it, and it's essentially
Brilliant.
the sequel to The Shining,
based off of the book, also
so
Doctor Sleep.
Good. It's so fucking.
I mean,
good.
everything, in my opinion, everything Mike Flanagan touches is like gold.
Yeah, he does a great job of things.
Is like a horror genius.
Yeah.
And if you haven't seen like his Netflix series and stuff, especially the first one, what is it called?
House on the Hill.
Silent. What is it? Not Silent Hill. The House.
No, House on the Hill.
Is it just House on the Hill?
Something like that. Yeah. The House on the Hill, I think.
It's a little different, I think. But yes, that series, like, completely blew my mind. Yeah. Like, blew my mind.
Also, Doctor Sleep is so well done in terms of keeping the
Hill House, Haunting of Hill House.
Haunting of Hill House. The original, The Shining, the movie with Jack Nicholson, kind of pristine and are like kind of elevating it.
Yeah.
Because of how the story progresses and also how the story kind of ends in a full circle moment. Yeah. Almost. And it's so cool. It's really, really
very cool.
Yeah.
And so well done and truly like an homage to The Shining.
Yeah.
It's really, it's so good. It's a really great movie.
Me and Earl and the Dying Girl. Oh, it's just a very sweet movie based on a book.
Yeah.
And yeah,
it's just like without giving anything away. I mean, the title basically gives things away. But this kid, what is it? I always forget his name. There's Earl, obviously.
Yeah, there's
Earl. But he is, they're all in high school, so it's kind of like coming of age style movie.
Yeah, it's kind of Greg.
And he's kind of not really an outcast, but he just tries to get along with everybody.
Yeah.
And but besides Earl, has no like real like super close friends.
Yeah.
And there's a girl in their class who is diagnosed with leukemia.
Rachel, yeah.
And his mom essentially tells him like he has to go and like he has to call her on the phone and then he has to go over there. And it sparks this really beautiful friendship between the two of them.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of stuff about like filmmaking because he makes films with Earl and that kind of then plays into the whole thing. And it's just a beautiful story of friendship and
it's a great movie.
Struggle of,
it's
going
one of
through
movies
leukemia and at such a young age. And it's a really, really beautiful movie.
Yeah, it is a very beautiful movie. It's
funny. There's also like, it's that classic, I love coming of age movies. And I feel like there's the vibe of a coming of age movie. There's always like this kind of like serious note to them, but
it's about,
but it's also
basically from being a child, from having no troubles, entering the real world and being confronted of real troubles.
Yeah.
And
there's like a lovely playfulness to those movies where it's playful, but it's also serious and it's very well done in that movie.
And the cast is amazing. Nicole Kidman is in it, and Molly Shannon, Connie Britton. Yeah.
And the kid who plays Greg is phenomenal.
Thomas Mann. Yeah.
Phenomenal.
He's great. No, it's a great movie. One movie I still want to kind of just quickly say that I watched because you didn't watch it, but I just want to quickly elevate it. Maybe we watched it at some point for the podcast, but I watched it this week. It's The Assassination of Jesse James by the Coward Robert Ford. It's a drama western movie by Andrew Dominic, one of my highlighted favorite directors. Like, he's very underrated in my opinion, and The Assassination of Jesse James is just such a sad, beautiful, and I don't know, every time the movie ends I kind of cry, and I feel like so many emotions go through the story, and just such a, I don't know, it's hard to describe because Andrew Dominic kind of, I don't know, displayed those characters, Jesse James, like this almost I don't know, superhero character, almost like this infamous guy that we all know kind of from somewhere at least, as like Brad Pitt just portrays it in such a way where you don't feel bad for him, but at the same time you kind of do at some point, and he gets killed in such a inhuman way, more or less.
We watched that one together at some point. I remember that
and
one.
And Casey Affleck as creepy Robert Ford, and as this also very sad person, because he kills him essentially, and the movie just goes on and tells the story of then what had happened to Robert Ford, and how he basically just thought, okay, he can gain something from killing this infamous guy, when in fact it turns around on him, and his sorrow eats him up at some point, and his life gets miserable, and he's forgotten essentially, and Jesse James gets elevated to this status of everybody knows him, the legend it's a very, very, very beautiful movie. It's shot very, like, it's one of the most beautiful westerns ever made. And the music is amazing. Like, the soundtrack is so beautiful. Nick Cave. Yeah, it's one of my favorite Western movies. So if you like Western movies that are not like super spaghetti exploitive,
exactly,
whatever.
I was gonna say I really liked that movie when we watched it, and I'm not a big Western fan, so
it's very beautiful. It's essentially a drama and a period piece, and a little Western, and also a little thriller elements in here and there. But it's a very cool story, and I really like it. That's it. So we have a little change.
Yes.
So usually at this point we announce the next movie, but since Danielle pointed out, hey, we need to drive some people to our Instagram
and just our socials in general. So we decided that we're not going to announce at the end of the podcast anymore, at the end of each episode. But instead, we're only going to announce it on our Instagram and our Threads. So if you want to know what the next movie is, then you have to go to our Instagram and our Threads.
Yes.
And I'll probably post the next movie, like what it's going to be, either the same day we release the podcast or the next day. After. Yeah. So either Friday or Saturday. So just keep a lookout for that. We also added every Tuesday we're having a Tuesday trivia Tuesday. So it'll be trivia for the movie that was released the previous Friday.
Yep.
So currently we have some trivia out on 1917. So that's in our Instagram stories. So check that out. It's also interactive.
Yep. I also thought we'll probably put the title for the next movie also in the description of the podcast. So if you don't head over to our socials, you can at least read it in the description, because it makes sense. Not everybody has social media, and I don't want to force people onto social media, but it's still better if you go over to a social media, because then we can also discuss the movie. You can add your comments, you can text us your thoughts on the movie. And again, I think it would be preferable for you to watch the movie first and then listen or watch the podcast, and then we can maybe talk a little bit more about it, since it's kind of fun to do it. And also, if you want to support us, I'm sorry, head over to our Patreon, where Joe is still currently the only Patreon member. And again, if you subscribe there, help us out. You can actually choose the next movie from our list of movies. So you can see all the movies that we have and choose one. That's it.
That's it.
Okay. We see you next week.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.